I sometimes imagine that my life would be easier if we could simply reschedule Christmas. How can I really celebrate Christmas when I'm wrapped up with cards and gifts, not to mention finding an optimal Mass schedule that takes into account limited seating capacity, professional sports schedules, frigid weather, clogged streets, and up until about 1 o'clock today, power outages. We were without power until about 1 o'clock today. Of course, the real solution is not to reschedule Christmas, but to figure out how to focus on what is truly important about Christmas. Our readings today invite us to make Christ the center of Christmas, even if we find ourselves preoccupied and distracted by other things. The prophet Isaiah invites us to peer out of the darkness, to look beyond the gloom that always seems to be on the horizon, to take in the light and the wonder of a child. St. Paul, in his letter to Titus, reminds us that the grace of God has appeared to us in Jesus Christ. If we can remain focused on Jesus, we will always be eager to do what is good. In our gospel reading from Luke, only Mary and Joseph are focused on Jesus. Even in our proclamation today, sometimes our shepherds were more interested in playing hockey with the sheep. I'm glad you couldn't see that from the back. The rulers and politicians are more intent on counting people than caring for people. For them, the birth of a baby is an inconvenience, easily ignored until he is old enough to pay taxes. The innkeepers, I hope you noticed, were pleased that their high occupancy rate allowed them to turn people away. Even the nearby shepherds were content to count sheep or scores as they tried to fall asleep, until angels burst on the scene to direct their attention elsewhere. It's so easy to get caught up in counting and recounting, to become immersed in the routines of daily life, that we can fail to encounter and make time for someone who arrives unexpectedly and inconveniently. And it is just as true today as it was 2,000 years ago. Christ always seems to arrive at inconvenient and unexpected times. He is our neighbor who needs our help when we are already too busy. He is our friend who needs someone to talk to when we have deadlines to meet. He is in the smile of a child looking at the nativity scene for the first time, when we are more preoccupied with getting a great photo. Christ is in the fundraising letter seeking help for the poor that arrives on the same day as our credit card bill. It is so easy to get so busy rushing through Christmas that we can miss Christ when he comes. Often Jesus is most present at unexpected and inconvenient times. Do we trust enough to let Christ into our lives? Are we willing to put our plans and our busyness on hold to make time for Christ? Are we willing to take the time to be Christ for others? When our neighbor knocks on our door, will he find Christ? When a child or a friend needs a shoulder to lean on, will she find in us the ear of Christ? Will other sinners find in us a forgiving Christ? Or will they find a Scrooge who is unwilling to be inconvenienced by a visit from Christ? God's timing is often inconvenient and unexpected, but it is always worthwhile to make time for Christ. Let us pray that each of us will make room for Christ in Christmas this year and throughout the year to come.